Hey guys, welcome to another Jamaican Tales video, a Jamaican living in Germany. In this video, I want to talk about some of the myths that people have as it pertains to living overseas. So especially from the perspective as a Jamaican, living abroad, living in Germany, what are some of the myths, what are some of the misconceptions that people have about life in this country? Leaving from Jamaica, a third world country, to live in Germany, a first world country, people have a lot of misconceptions about what life here is. Even when you tell them and even when you show them things, they still have this idea that, life in another country, in a first world country, is somehow perfect, it's problem free, and you're just living in a bed of roses. That's it, the expectation that a lot of people have. Let's jump into some of these myths. Now, the first one that most Jamaicans love to say is that I will never change if I live overseas. Now, growing up in Jamaica, I've heard this expression so many times, like people say, if I go overseas, I will never change. I will be the same person I am. It's kind of impossible, I would dare to say, to live somewhere else and to not change in any way or any form. Living in another country, there are different norms, there are different expectations, there are different laws. And you're gonna follow these things automatically, and at some point, it just becomes natural. And so therefore, you are going to change whether you like it or not. For example, even the way you speak, the way you think, your opinions about certain things, even your belief system, your worldview, a lot of these different things can change because you're being exposed to a different world, and because of this exposure, it's gonna have an impact on you. Doesn't matter how hard you try to block out everything, at some point something is gonna get through. And if nothing gets through, then I think a person like that deserves a medal, because that's talent right there. Another myth that people have is that when you move and you live in a first world country, then automatically you should be happy because your life becomes so much easier. It's like you don't have any problems anymore because somehow life is perfect in the first world countries. Yeah, if only they knew. When you move from a third world country to a first world country, of course there are certain problems that you no longer have, because things are different, things are maybe more modern, more organized and so on. So there are certain things that you don't have to worry about. For example, I don't necessarily have to worry about safety in Germany because it's a safe country. But there are many other things that I have to be concerned about, and even new problems that come because I live in a new country. This idea that just because you live in a first world country, that means you shouldn't have a problem, it's absurd, I would say. There are people that, for example, when they are talking about the problems that they're still having back home in Jamaica, and I tell them, okay, about my problems, you're like, okay, first world problems. And it's like they're downplaying that, okay, it's a real problem for me. Maybe it's all the movies and the picture that's played that, you live from your country and you go and you chase the American dream and everything works out and you live happily ever after. But yeah, that is definitely not the experience of most people that I know. Of course, there are people where it's probably true that, everything is perfect and everything becomes easier. But I'd say for most people, it's actually the opposite. I mean, a lot of things do get better, but then there are other challenges and there are other struggles that they have to deal with along the way. So another assumption that people have is that because you live in a first world country, that means that you have a lot of money. And also that means that you're rich. So the economy is doing much better, the currency is strong, so that means that you're a rich person all of a sudden. When I compare what I'm earning now in Germany to what I was earning back in Jamaica, it's definitely a lot more money. But just because you earn more doesn't necessarily mean that you have more money, because in Germany, I pay more taxes than what I paid back in Jamaica. Why do I keep confusing both of these countries? You're earning more money, and when you compare to what you were earning back in your home country, then it's a lot more. But hey, there are when you look at the scale of the incomes in the country, in this first world country that you're living, then you're not necessarily anywhere close to being rich. Sometimes you are actually right at the bottom, sometimes you're struggling just to make ends meet. Just looking at living expenses here. For example, rent, I would say is relatively comparable. For electricity, I pay less in Germany for sure in comparison to what I would pay in Jamaica, and there's a video that I made about that. But for example, food or even clothing and stuff like that, I find that sometimes I spend definitely more money here than what I would actually spend back in Jamaica. A lot of people seem to think that everything is cheaper in a first world country. There are definitely things that can be cheaper, as I mentioned with the example of electricity in Germany. Just because it's a first world country, that doesn't automatically mean that everything is cheaper. I would say sometimes things are definitely way more expensive. For example, just comparing Europe or even Germany to the States, there are certain things in the States that I can buy much cheaper than what I would get in Germany. Maybe people think this way because of exchange rates, where they look at it and they say, okay, the top currencies in the world, for example, would be the pound, US dollar, and the euro and stuff, and they're like, okay, 1 euro is 160 Jamaican dollars. When they look at this conversion, then in their minds, you're like, whoa, 1 euro, that means that you can buy so many different things there. But again, it's a different economy, things are priced differently, so that's not always true. I think the expression, the grass is always greener on the other side, is the best way to actually summarize the idea that people have about what your life is when you actually live overseas. Because from their perspective, they're just looking at, okay, the positive things and the things that would improve, but they would not even start to imagine, or I sometimes don't think they're even capable of imagining some of the things that are challenging, some of the problems that they would actually face if they were supposed to live in another country. And of course, I must also admit that before coming to Germany, there were many things that I didn't expect. There were many challenges that came up that I wasn't expecting. I definitely thought that moving to Germany, a lot of things would be perfect, a lot of things would be great. And it has been great. There are many things that have been great, there are many things that have been amazing, and I'm thankful for those things. But that doesn't remove the fact that there have also been challenges. There have been times when it was frustrating, there are times when it was really challenging, there have been times when I was just crying, there were times when I'm just like, yeah, what do I do next? Like, those feelings and those emotions, they don't just magically go away when you jump on a plane and move to a different country. We have to recognize that it doesn't matter where you live in this world, people will have challenges, people will have problems. It doesn't matter how amazing someone's life might seem, it doesn't matter how amazing a country might be. You're living somewhere, you're gonna have problems, and you might not necessarily understand the problems that the person is experiencing because you have a different reality than what that person has. And I think we really should be open to listening to each other and to understanding what other people are experiencing, because I think the other way around is also the same, where people that are living in a first world country, they look at life a certain way. In a third world country, they're like, why don't these people get their act together? Why is this a problem? And so on. And for them, they can't understand why it's a challenge, why it's a problem. And of course, if you're in that reality, then it will be very clear to you. So I guess we have to meet at the table and actually understand these things and, I don't know, somehow help each other. So those are my 2 cents about living overseas, some of the misconceptions that people have from the perspective of moving from a third world country to a first world country. And while doing this video, I just also got the idea to look at it from the other perspective, where the way that people in a first world country actually look at a third world country and other types of countries. So I think I'll do a video about that as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and as always, let's continue the conversation down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. If you've lived somewhere else, what has been your experience adjusting and coming to terms with the new life. And see you guys in the next Jamaican Tales video.